Tonight, we're not going to recount dramatic battles or the rise and fall of empires. Instead, we're going to gently drift back, way back, the very first hint of dawn, a faint graying at the mouth of our shelter. The body responds to the imperceptible change in light, a deep, ancient rhythm. A child might whimper softly, nestled close to a parent. We are likely resting on a bed of dried leaves, perhaps covered with a simple animal skin, worn soft from use. The feel of the fur against the skin, the slight give of the leaves beneath us. Perhaps a hand reaches out, seeking contact, reassurance. The simple comfort of knowing others are near, sharing this space, this waking. The subtle breath of life returning to the small encampment. These are the tactile sensations of beginning a new day, a foundational comfort. For most, this revolves around gathering. Women, children, and older individuals likely spend a significant amount of time foraging for edible plants, bending down low to examine a patch of leaves, distinguishing edible from inedible, the subtle differences in shape and color, spotting a patch of wild onions amidst the other greenery, their slender stalks almost hidden amongst the taller grasses, identifying the subtle markings of a safe mushroom, distinguishing its cap and gills from a dangerous look-alike, noticing the changing color of berries that signals their perfect ripeness, a promise of sweetness after the lean times. This is a continuous, almost meditative engagement with the natural world, a constant dance of observation and careful collection, reaching up to pluck fruit from a bush, feeling its ripeness with careful fingers, carefully digging into the soil with a sharpened stick or a crude stone tool to unearth a tuber, feeling the resistance of the earth, the cool dampness of the soil. This is slow, meticulous work, requiring patience and a sharp awareness of the surroundings. Each small discovery is a minor but vital victory. This wasn't a leisurely stroll in a modern park, but a purposeful, methodical search. It required immense knowledge passed down through generations, knowing which plants were safe to eat and which were poisonous. Obtaining it requires significant effort. Men, typically stronger and faster, would often be involved in hunting. But imagine the immense patience required for this vital task, knowing where to find them at different times of the year, understanding their growth cycles, their preferred habitats. Not a grand feast, but the simple, urgent need to quell the pangs of hunger that have been growing through the night. What did we manage to gather, or perhaps scavenge, the day before? A handful of berries, shriveled but still sweet, carefully saved. A few nuts, cracked open with a stone. Perhaps some roots, dug up and cleaned. These are the first, fundamental provisions, the essential fuel for the day ahead. An older individual might sigh, a quiet exhalation into the cool morning air. We eat directly, with our hands, savoring each meager bite. The taste of wild berries, tart and earthy, the satisfying crunch of a nut, its subtle flavor, the slightly fibrous texture of a cooked root, grounding and plain. These are the direct flavors of our world, unadorned, pure. The work of survival awaits, but it unfolds with a natural, unhurried pace. The very first task is often just to fully wake, to stretch out stiff limbs, to take in the quietness of the emerging world. We listen, we observe, the rustle of a hand reaching into a pouch made of animal skin, the occasional click of a stone against a nut as it's opened, the fragments falling onto the dusty ground. These are the sounds of basic sustenance, of filling an essential need, a fundamental act repeated daily. We feel the gentle shift in temperature as the sun slowly begins its ascent. The world gently breathes awake. The air itself holds the faint scent of earth, damp stone, and the lingering smokiness from last night's fire, a comforting, familiar smell that brings a sense of home. Perhaps the sound of a distant bird, a faint chirping just beginning to pierce the lingering silence of pre-dawn, or the rustle of leaves outside, carried by the lightest morning breeze, a gentle whisper against the rock. This shelter, our home, might not always be the deep, cavernous kind depicted in stories. Often, it's a simple rock overhang, a natural indentation in a cliff face, or a shallow cave, just enough to offer protection from the elements, a barrier against the chill of the night, and perhaps a first line of defense against larger nocturnal predators. We're going to consider what it was really like, to a time long before recorded history. And while some of that might hold a grain of truth, the reality of daily life for our early human ancestors was likely far more, and perhaps, in that ordinariness, we can find a certain peacefulness. Well, ordinary, maybe 15, maybe 30 individuals in total. Our world is small. There's no sudden jolt, no jarring sound of an alarm. Instead, it's a slow, quiet stirring, a member of a small band. It's defined by the distance we can walk in a day, the familiar landmarks of rock formations, a particular bend in a river, a specific cluster of trees. Will settle into the quiet understanding of their simple, direct existence. The texture of the ground beneath us is cool, rough stone, not the mental strain of complex problem-solving or abstract thought, but a profound, focused awareness of the immediate environment. There is no rush, no immediate demand, not conversations, but simple vocalizations, acknowledging presence, no preparation beyond simply reaching for what is available. As the light strengthens, the immediate concern often turns to food. There is no formal breakfast. The sounds of this early morning eating are quiet. Once the immediate hunger is addressed, the day's tasks begin. The process of foraging involves constant, focused engagement with the environment. Consider the deep concentration required. While gathering provides a steady, albeit often meager, supply of food, meat is a rarer and highly prized source of sustenance. The concept of free time as we know it simply didn't exist. Every moment was, in some way, contributing directly to survival or communal well-being. Not reading or writing, but the profound, practical knowledge of the natural world around them. The ability to identify edible plants from hundreds of similar-looking ones, avoiding the poisonous rick, the intricate skill of tracking an animal over varied terrain, reading the subtle signs. Cooperation was essential for many tasks that a single individual simply couldn't accomplish alone. No individual could truly survive alone for long in this challenging world. Blood relatives forming the essential nucleus, with other accepted members integrated into a broader, extended family unit. Children were deeply valued, not just for their innocence and simple joys, but for their future contributions to the group's strength and continuity. The sheer joy of finding new sources of food, the promise of warmer weather, the longer days bringing more opportunities for activity and foraging. There was little concept of long-term planning beyond the immediate needs of survival that might stretch a few days or weeks at most. The focus is intently on the here and now, on the immediate tasks at hand, the immediacy of hunger, the urgency of finding safe shelter before an approaching storm breaks. A world pristine and untouched by widespread human development, by sprawling cities, by vast infrastructure, or by pervasive pollution. Imagine the forests, dense, ancient, with trees that had stood for centuries, their vast canopies forming deep, cool shadows that shifted with the sun. Instead, it was one of profound dependence and deep respect. They were not separate from the ecosystem. They were an integral part of it, subject to its forces, its generosity, and its harshness. Others were formidable, potential threats, demanding immense respect and extreme caution. Violent storms with crashing thunder and blinding lightning, sudden, devastating floods, swelling rivers, and submerging lands. Wild, uncontrollable wildfires sweeping through forests. The process of creating these tools required immense skill, profound patience, and a deep, intuitive understanding of the properties of these raw materials. A sharpened stone for cutting and scraping, a sturdy branch for digging and clubbing, a refined bone fragment for piercing and sewing. Each tool represented a significant investment of time and focused effort, honed through countless repetitions and generations of inherited knowledge, a testament to early human ingenuity. These were not distant events reported on a screen or observed from a safe distance. These were immediate, tangible forces that could dramatically impact their lives, destroying their temporary shelters, depleting their crucial food sources, and scattering their small bands. Survival meant adapting quickly, moving rapidly, and finding new resources in the tumultuous wake of such natural disasters, always learning from the past. There would have been a constant, heightened awareness of the immediate presence of wildlife, a crucial need to understand their behavior, their territories, their warning signs, and their vulnerabilities, all to avoid danger. A rustle in the bushes could be a small, edible creature, a potential meal, or it could be a lurking predator, a source of immediate terror. Every sound, every fleeting shadow, every scent carried on the wind held potential meaning, demanding interpretation. They moved with its rhythms, not against them. The sounds of wildlife would have been constant, diverse, and all-encompassing, a rich symphony of chirps, rustles, growls, roars, and calls, a living soundtrack to their days and nights. While they would have understood the vastness of the universe in a scientific sense, they would have seen patterns, perhaps told stories woven from the constellations, and certainly found a deep sense of wonder, mystery, and connection to the unknown expanse above them. The cyclical movement of the moon and stars would have been deeply felt, guiding their nights and connecting them to something ancient and grand, a cosmic timepiece. The rivers, clean, crystal clear, teeming with fish, their waters pure enough to drink directly, a vital source of life. The night sky ablaze with stars, unpolluted by artificial light, a breathtaking, infinite canopy of twinkling points of light, extending endlessly, a celestial marvel. The ever-present awareness of potential threats, both large and small, demanding immediate attention. There were no books, no maps, no scientific instruments to rely on. Knowledge was acquired through tireless observation, through trial and error, through countless repetitions, and crucially, through stories and lessons passed down from elder to youth around the fire. They likely possessed a remarkably deep and intricate knowledge of the plants and animals immediately around them, understanding their behaviors, their life cycles, their properties, and their complex roles within the ecosystem, or the meticulous preparation for the harshness of winter. the pressing need to store food, to find truly adequate shelter, to prepare warm coverings, and to conserve energy. Elders, though perhaps less physically capable, were revered for their wisdom, their vast accumulated experience, and their memory serving as the living library of the band, guiding decisions and sharing lessons learned. Not grand celebrations or extravagant luxuries that we might imagine today, but the profound satisfaction of fundamental needs being met, the simple pleasure of feeling the sun on your skin, a profound warmth, the cool, refreshing water of a stream against your lips, quenching thirst, the soft, yielding ground beneath your tired feet after a long walk. These basic sensory experiences would have been amplified, more immediate, more profoundly felt, a constant connection to the world around them, the pure warmth of a fire on a cold night, chasing away the chill and the shadows, a central hub of comfort, the incredibly intense taste of a truly ripe fruit after days of scarcity, its sweetness amplified by hunger, the deep, weary feeling of accomplishment after a successful hunt or a bountiful foraging trip, knowing the group would eat, the quiet comfort of being surrounded by familiar faces, sharing a shared silence, or a soft murmur of contentment, a feeling of security. The group was the primary unit of survival, the essential safety net. A successful hunt often required multiple individuals working together to corner or bring down an animal, to then butcher and transport it. Protection from formidable large predators or rival human groups was a collective effort, with individuals relying on each other's vigilance, strength, and quick reactions. Instead, it was marked by the undeniable, natural rhythms of the world, the changing seasons with their distinct characteristics, the predictable phases of the moon from new to full and back again, the cyclical growth of plants from sprout to fruit to dormancy, the predictable migration patterns of animals signaling the time for certain hunts. These were the fundamental markers of time, dictating their movements, their activities, and their preparations. Raising children was a communal undertaking, with many hands contributing to their care, feeding, and teaching. The precise movements required to make a sharp tool from stone, understanding the fracture patterns of flint, knowing exactly where and how to strike to remove a flake. The patient art of building a fire from scratch, coaxing warmth and light from seemingly nothing, a crucial skill for survival. However, within this constant engagement with the world, there were distinct rhythms, periods of intense physical activity, like the chase during a hunt, followed by periods of necessary rest to recover. The slow, deliberate pace of gathering, broken by the swiftness of plucking a ripe fruit or spotting a rare edible plant. The focused energy required for tool-making. They were skills passed down through countless generations, learned through direct observation, constant imitation, and relentless practice. Think about the skills that were absolutely essential for their very existence. These were not abstract lessons learned in a classroom. A young child would watch their parents, their elders, from the earliest age, mimicking their movements, their hand gestures, learning by doing, by repetition, by absorbing the knowledge through every sense. Imagine a young child, perhaps no more than 4 or 5 years old, carefully selecting berries, their tiny fingers practicing the same delicate motion they've watched their mother perform countless times. Or a slightly older child, fascinated by the precise blows an adult delivers to a rock, slowly learning the feel of a sharp stone tool, understanding its capabilities and its potential dangers. or perhaps understanding the subtle signs of a coming storm simply by observing the behavior of animals, the changing quality of the light, or the shifts in the wind. Education was practical, hands-on, deeply embedded in every facet of daily life, a continuous apprenticeship in survival. Within the small band, social bonds would have been not just important, but absolutely crucial for survival. There would have been an undeniable sense of interdependence, a profound reliance on each other for everything. Consider the concept of family. In a small, close-knit group, kinship ties would have been incredibly strong, forming the core of the band. The passage of time was not marked by human constructs like calendars or clocks, which didn't exist. Imagine the deep anticipation of the first signs of spring after a long, cold, and often lean winter. Life was, by necessity, lived intensely in the present moment. And within this demanding rhythm, there would have been moments of simple pleasure. These weren't grand, extravagant joys, but the small, fundamental satisfactions of a life lived in direct and unmediated tune with nature. Our ancestors lived in a world vastly different from our own. Their understanding of this world was entirely based on direct experience and oral tradition. Think about their relationship with nature. It wasn't one of dominance or control, as we often strive for today. Imagine the awe they might have felt looking up at that star-filled sky. Consider their encounters with animals. Some were direct sources of food, vital for survival, representing a successful hunt. Living in such close proximity to nature also meant being profoundly vulnerable to its unpredictable forces. Their tools were simple, yet ingenious in their design and effectiveness, made entirely from materials readily available in their immediate environment: stone, wood, and bone. There was also the stark, ever-present reality of injury and illness. Without modern medicine, without any understanding of hygiene or disease, even a seemingly minor cut could quickly become infected and life-threatening. Losing a member of the band, whether from predation, an unforeseen accident, a sudden illness, or intergroup conflict, would have been a profoundly significant and deeply felt event. Perhaps a solemn burial, a respectful placement of the body, or simple ceremonies to mark the passing of a loved one. These rituals, however rudimentary, would have offered a vital way for the group to cope with loss, to collectively mourn, and the focus subtly shifts towards the shelter and the promise of rest. The air cools quickly, a refreshing chill after the day's warmth, and the vibrant sounds of the day gradually give way to the quieter, more mysterious sounds of the night. And to maintain social cohesion and emotional stability in the face of such profound vulnerability and sorrow, and heat that deters nocturnal animals and offers profound psychological comfort against the vast darkness beyond. Perhaps huddled together for warmth, the bodies of others providing both heat and a profound sense of collective security against the unknown of the night. The gentle rustling of leaves outside the shelter, carried by the night wind, a soft, hushed whisper. Sleep would have been deep and profoundly restorative, a truly necessary respite before the renewed challenges of the next day. The body, exhausted from physical exertion, from the day's hunts over vast, almost unimaginable stretches of time, periods spanning many, many generations, small, incremental changes and adaptations would have occurred. Someone in the band, through countless repetitions, might notice that a particular type of stone flakes more easily, or creates a sharper, more durable edge, leading to the development of more effective cutting tools for butchering or crafting. Someone might experiment with different ways to trap smaller animals, or devise a new, more efficient method for fishing, perhaps with a simple weir or net made from plant fibers. These discoveries, though perhaps accidental at first, the result of countless trials, would have been quickly recognized for their utility, shared amongst the group, and adopted into their common practice, gradually improving their chances of survival and reducing daily effort. These weren't rapid revolutions like those we experience today, but slow, deliberate evolutions in their way of life, barely perceptible across a single lifetime. New tool-making techniques might have been discovered, perhaps by accidental observation, perhaps through deliberate experimentation over long periods. New hunting strategies developed, becoming more efficient, more cooperative, and requiring more complex coordination, and foraging would sink into a profound rest, allowing for repair and rejuvenation, preparing for what tomorrow might bring. The distant hooting of an owl, its mournful call echoing through the trees. It allowed for more complex communication, for the sharing of more detailed information, not just simple warnings of danger, but nuanced descriptions of landscapes, detailed animal behaviors, precise instructions for tool-making, or methods for processing food. It facilitated the transmission of increasingly complex knowledge across generations, building upon what came before, allowing for cumulative learning and growth. The occasional, unnerving howl of a wolf, a stark reminder of the wild world beyond the fire's embrace, yet a sound they lived with daily. These sounds, though potentially unsettling, would also have been familiar, part of the natural tapestry of their nights, a constant presence, the feel of soft animal furs and dried leaves beneath us, providing a simple, natural bed, a cushion against the hard ground. The shadows would stretch and contract, turning familiar shapes into fleeting, enigmatic forms, inviting the imagination to wander. Not lengthy narratives as we know them, but concise recounts of the day's events. A close call during a hunt, a particularly fruitful foraging spot, a warning about a dangerous area. This was the time for passing on practical knowledge, warnings, and collective memories, reinforcing lessons learned. The faces of loved ones, familiar and comforting. The animals they encountered, both the thrilling pursuit of prey and the terrifying presence of a predator. The familiar landscapes they traversed, the forests, rivers, and mountains etched into their minds. Perhaps dreams of successful hunts, or the pure warmth of a full stomach, or the joyous discovery of an abundant food source. These are the ancient, universal components of human dreams, connecting us to our earliest ancestors, a shared experience across time. It was also simply a time for companionship, for the quiet, reassuring presence of others, strengthening the bonds that held the group together in the face of the vast wilderness. Imagine the meticulous process of collecting dry branches, fallen twigs, and tinder. The precise skill required to start a fire from scratch, perhaps by patiently rubbing sticks together until friction creates a spark, or by striking flint against a piece of iron pyrites to create a precious ember. Each successful spark is a small triumph against the cold and dark, a promise of security. Such losses impacted not only the emotional well-being of the group, leaving an ache of absence, but also their practical survival, reducing the number of hands available for hunting, gathering, defense, and the crucial transmission of knowledge. A broken bone, even a small one, was a profound disability, hindering mobility and the ability to contribute to the group. Imagine the simple satisfaction of eating, the aroma of roasted meat or baked roots filling the air, a primal comfort. The taste would be pure, unadorned, the culmination of the day's efforts, a deep and fundamental pleasure shared amongst the group. Simple fevers could quickly turn fatal, especially for the young or the elderly. Yet within those challenges, amidst the constant struggles, there was also a profound connection to the natural world, a deep sense of belonging to something larger than themselves, to the fundamental cycles of life and death that governed their entire existence. It was a life lived on the edge, yet deeply rooted in the rhythms of the earth. The average lifespan was likely much shorter than ours, with incredibly high mortality rates for infants and young children, a constant sorrow. The concept of death was an ever-present reality, a frequent, unavoidable visitor to their small communities. While we may not know the exact specifics of their rituals surrounding death, it is highly likely that they existed in some form. Their world was immediate, tangible, and often incredibly challenging. As the sun begins its final descent, painting the sky with deepening hues of orange, red, gathering firewood becomes paramount, a vital evening task. The fire is not just for warmth or cooking. It is a vital shield, a flickering circle of light. The flickering light of the fire would have cast dancing shadows on the rough, uneven walls of the shelter, creating an atmosphere that was both profoundly comforting and, perhaps, a little mysterious. This time around, the fire, after the day's labors, would have been when stories were shared. Food, gathered or hunted during the day, would be cooked over the fire. As darkness deepens further, and the fire settles into a steady, crackling glow, its flames beginning to dwindle to embers, sleep would have come naturally and easily. The sounds of the night would become the lullaby, familiar and constant. There was no artificial light to disrupt the body's natural rhythms, no glowing screens, no electric lamps to disturb the deep, ancient cycle of wake and sleep. Dreams, we can imagine, might have been vivid, filled with the images and raw experiences of their waking hours. Life as a caveman, despite its apparent constancy, wasn't entirely static. Imagine the slow, painstaking process of innovation, the development of language, though an immensely gradual process spanning countless millennia. From simple vocalizations to more complex sounds and then words, would have been a profoundly significant step. Consider the crucial role of elders in the community. They would have been the invaluable keepers of knowledge, the living libraries of their band. The severity of a particular past winter, the traditional ways of doing things that had proven successful for countless generations. They were the ones who remembered past events, the precise location of a reliable water source during a severe drought, the patterns of animal migration. Their accumulated experience and hard-won wisdom would have been absolutely invaluable for the survival and well-being of the group, guiding daily decisions and patiently instructing the young. The raising of children, as mentioned, was very much a communal effort, a shared responsibility. It was a journey of countless small steps, countless minor innovations, countless adaptations to new challenges, and countless generations living, learning, and slowly changing. And our innate connection to the natural world were all laid down in those distant, prehistoric times. Their lives, though seemingly basic, contained the seeds of everything that came after. A life lived in incredibly close harmony with nature, focused intently on the fundamental needs of survival, and deeply connected to a small, interdependent community. It was a life of pure engagement with the world as it was. Everyone in the band would have played a role in caring for and teaching the young, from providing food and physical protection to imparting essential survival skills and the collective knowledge of the group's traditions. From their incredible resilience in the face of constant environmental pressures, their ability to endure and adapt the gentle rhythm of daily tasks, the authentic sounds of the natural world, untainted by human noise, just the wind, the water, the animals, the quiet companionship of a close-knit group, sharing a common existence under the vast ancient sky. From their deep, unmediated connection to nature, truly understanding its rhythms and its raw power, living as part of it, we are all connected to those who came before us, to those earliest humans who faced the challenges of survival with remarkable ingenuity, unwavering perseverance, and an unbreakable spirit. Their echoes resonate within us, a faint, ancient hum, connecting us to the deep past, and from the absolute, vital importance of community, of relying on one another for survival, for comfort, for well-being, a collective strength. Every tool made, every fire lit, every piece of knowledge carefully passed on from one mind to another, contributed to the slow, steady progression of humanity. The simple, profound satisfaction of finding enough food to nourish yourself and your family, a quiet relief, the pure, comforting warmth of a fire on a cold night, chasing away the chill and the shadows, a central hub of safety. May you find rest in the quiet, timeless rhythms of our shared human story, the deep, often unspoken comfort of belonging to a group, surrounded by familiar faces, sharing a common struggle and shared moments of peace. These are fundamental human experiences that transcend the vast gulf of time that separates us, echoes of our shared past. Their perseverance, their remarkable adaptability, and their innate drive to survive and thrive were the quiet, constant engines of our shared history, a slow, unfolding story over immense time. This ensured the continuity of the group, passing on the legacy of survival from one generation to the next, building upon the lessons of the past. Over immense periods of time, different groups of early humans would have developed incredibly diverse ways of life, specifically adapted to their varying local environments. There was no relentless pressure of modern deadlines, no overwhelming number of choices to make, no endless distractions. Life was, in many ways, slower, more deliberate, more immediate, driven by the sun and the seasons. Each action had a clear purpose, directly tied to their survival, to finding food, to staying safe. Those living near the coast might have come to rely more heavily on fishing, on gathering shellfish from the shores, and on navigating coastal waters. Those inhabiting colder, more northern regions would have developed increasingly sophisticated ways to stay warm, perhaps with thicker, more elaborate furs, more robust and insulated shelters, or better, more efficient methods of fire management. This shows a constant, slow adaptation to the world around them. The journey from these early beginnings, these simple, fundamental lives, lived close to the earth, to modern human civilization, was incredibly long and complex. But it is profoundly important to remember that the very foundations of our ingenuity, the roots of our social structures, the daily struggles and triumphs of our early ancestors, though seemingly simple to our modern eyes, were the building blocks of everything that came after. So, as we gently consider the life of a caveman, perhaps we can find a certain appreciation for the inherent simplicity and the profound directness of their existence. In their world, there was no endless stream of information to process, no constant barrage of digital noise, no overwhelming data to filter. Imagine the feeling of waking up naturally with the first light of the sun, your body rested from deep sleep, attuned to the dawn. While we wouldn't trade our modern lives for the immense daily challenges faced by our early ancestors, perhaps we can learn something profound from their way of being. As your eyes grow heavy and your mind begins to drift, let these images of a simpler, more primal time wash over you. Think of the immense vastness of time, stretching back into the mists of prehistory and our comparatively small place within it. And as you finally drift off to sleep, may your dreams be peaceful, deep, and truly restorative.